Brian, appreciate you coming on. This has been 2 years in the making, as I like to say, because I actually interned under you. I guess it was over 2 years back now, with the marketing internship, and like I always just recall fondly of like all the different things we used to talk about, and because it was virtual, it was over Microsoft Teams. We would just talk about what you were doing with your production company, just like fun movie stuff. So yeah, this has been it's been 2 years in the making. So I'm glad you're here, and we have some interesting stuff to talk about today. So
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be on here.
awesome. So I just wanted to know. So like as we know now, you have KT. That's like your production company now. But I wanted to know, like, where did you start initially with like this whole craft as a whole? Like, what age? Like, what did you start on? What cameras? If you were tampering around with stuff, just walk me through like the early stages of your creative journey.
Um, well, kind of as a kid, I always liked creating content, like in any form, like not just like making a video. I'd mess around like GarageBand or, try to make stuff on like iMovie or like crappy YouTube videos like my cousin or something. Just because I just like the idea of it and just wanted to know like what it's like to do it. Those aren't very good. I don't recommend. They're not out anymore, but certainly don't watch them if you find them. I've just been someone who's always liked like creative, like art type things, but kind of didn't know the means of like doing it besides just doing it yourself and just kind of figuring out from there. Uh, and then kind of like I was just kind of in college trying to figure out what it is I wanted to do. I originally went to school for accounting and like a year and a half into it, I was like, wow, I don't want to do this. And then I got into marketing from there. Still business, creative. I could graduate on time with that like major change. Um, and in my junior year, like before I went abroad to Australia, a longtime friend of mine who is truly my longest friend because we've known each other since we were both like born. I'm like a week and a half older than him, and we've known each other since he was born, I guess. We were hanging out like the summer before I left, and he was a film studies major at Boston University, and was just like, I have an idea for a script. I don't really think I could write it myself, and I feel like you could help me out with it, and pitched me the idea. And while we were in the car, I was like giving other ideas for it. And then from there, we were just kind of like, all right, let's work on this. So while I was in Australia, we would kind of like split up scenes and write them. And kind of as we were doing that, we were like, like we should have a name for ourselves. It's like the Cohen brothers, and we're like the same age, and both of our moms' names Karen. Like, what if we just went by Karen twins? And like, sure, that sounds fitting. But now we just go by KT because it's short and sweet.
Yeah.
Um, and that was just kind of like, yeah, it was just, originally it's a writing partnership. That script stinks. It will never see the light of day. But it started something, and we were
Could
like,
you could you
what?
take away anything from that script though that like you learned in that process of that initial like just back and forth? Like, what did
Uh,
you learn the most when writing?
I certainly learned how to write a script. I'd never written one. I had no idea what the format was like. So I know how to like structure a script. Do I really know how to write a good one? Not really. I'm not really much of a writer. Um, but I learned a lot. And honestly, if anything, we both learned from that like we make a good partnership when
Yeah.
it comes to film, and we should further pursue that and a stronger avenue. So then, like probably like a year later, my partner Dylan had a script that I think he either just wrote it or he had to write it for an assignment. Um, and he was like, this like it's like 90 pages. It's so easy. No special effects, no anything crazy like that. We could definitely just like film this if we wanted to. So then we were just like, sure, why not? And then one of his friends, who is still a frequent collaborator of ours to this day, Simon, helped us produce it and like co-direct it and whatnot. And or not to co-direct, just co-produce it. And we just kind of rallied a bunch of people from BU, and then a few other people like just who were local, like talent wise, and just out of, just a couple grand out of our pocket, just put together this feature film, and it's called Dilettantes.
Hmm.
And we were like, I was like, oh, we did it. And there were so many other people. Yeah, I was in bit, I was a recent graduate of college at this point. So like, and everyone around me was, business. So me making a feature film kind of went over people's head. But for him, being in film school or being around all these film school people, we were the only people in his class really who had a feature film under our belt,
Hmm.
just self-made DIY, figured it out. Figured it out as we went along. We were like, how do you make a movie? And both of
Hmm.
us were like, I don't know how to make a movie. And it's like I guess we could just figure it out by making a movie. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like literally every day we like learn something new. Um,
Hmm.
I wouldn't recommend doing that now. Like in terms of like if you do it, you do it once to get the experience and figure out the proper ways, like the starting point on how to properly make a movie, and then you just grow from there.
Well, I feel like there's
Um,
also so much information out there now as opposed to before, do you think? Like about the right, so to speak, way or like the methodology behind like actual like filmmaking. Do you think like there's a difference now, like where you still need to do it, obviously, to get your experience, and I've experienced that too with whether it's like just like a simple like small short that I do, but that on site will always you'll always take away more than the screen on like a YouTube video. You know what I mean?
yeah, being hands-on is the best way to learn anything related to film.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Um, but yeah, at the time, that was like 2018. And it's weird to say because how much film has just generally evolved since, the 20th century up to now. But a lot of means to make a film DIY, it felt like it was almost there in terms of like resources, like available, like inexpensive resources. Like Premiere Pro, for example. A lot of what Premiere Pro can do now was not available back then, or if it was in the most tedious and like poorly designed way. And now it's like incredible and such a time saver. I remember I don't think you could log and sync multiple footage at the same time in Premiere Pro back then, so I had to like manually do it myself, and that was awful.
Jesus.
Now I can do it. I can do a full day's worth of footage in like an hour, hour and a half. Um,
Hmm. So you're editing on Premiere only for all these projects.
yeah.
Gotcha. Why do you
Mhm.
choose Premiere over others?
It was the easiest to learn, and I also already had Adobe, like in general, like an Adobe Cloud suite.
Yeah.
Um, so. Yeah, it was just kind of I mean, like, I could have done like Final Cut because I had a Mac, or iMovie if I really hated the love of film. Um, but yeah, Premiere was there. Dylan and Simon both knew how to use it. So basically, like while we were editing, I didn't know how to use it at all. I just watched videos like on YouTube or like it, Dylan like via FaceTime or something would kind of like run me through some things, and I just kind of figured it out mostly on my own.
Hmm.
And we all, because we all knew how to use it, it would just be the simplest way to just kind of get this project done. Is if we all three of us were editing certain scenes split up, if it's all in one project or all in one software, it's not going to be a hassle to convert it all into one long movie.
Yep.
Um,
So I wanted to know, like, because you founded Karen Twins Now Pictures, what was that moment like that like day or moment in time, like, okay, now we have a production company, cool, like what was that like, and like was it just kind of like, was it non-climactic, like how was it when you started it, and how'd you feel?
let's see. Well, I think the moment that we decided we should make this legitimate was when it was about a year. a year after we close to a year after we filmed Dilettantes, and we were still kind of like finishing off like the edit. But I put together a trailer for it, and I just uploaded it to our Vimeo. And the night or the morning after I did that, we got an email from this Australian sales agent saying that he saw the trailer, is interested in the film, would like to see a cut if it's ready. So we like sent him a cut. He liked it. He wanted to represent us and like get us a distribution deal. And, we made this film, like I said, for the experience, just to say that we know how to make a film or like just to help us learn. So it maybe was going to go out to the public, like on our YouTube channel. Probably like we didn't even think about sending it to festivals. We just wanted to have it made and like call it a day. Um, so the fact that we even had like distribution on the table is crazy. So naturally, like, yeah, well, let's just see what happens. Who cares? And like now, you can rent it on like Amazon Prime,
That's where
or
I
you can
watched it.
watch it on, uh,
Hmm.
or you can just watch it on Tubi. Um, so yeah, our film's out there and it's available, and that made us think. We're like, wow, if we can make a film like that with like with no money and get someone's attention, uh, to just get us like a distribution deal, even if it's small and it's not gonna get us a lot of money or anything like that. Uh, I mean, who knows what we could do with even more resources? Like we very quickly learned like we know how to do it and we know that we can keep doing it. So I think like about a year or two after that, we decided it was finally time to make this more legit as we were kind of starting to dive into some bigger projects. So then we just formed like an LLC. And now KT Pictures is a legitimate production company.
So like I know like on the website, you're the co-founder and producer. So like I wanted to know like has your sort of role changed over time with KT? Has it shifted, morphed? Has it gone different places? Like are you doing things now that you weren't doing before?
Uh, I've always been like a producer, but I mean that role has elevated just tremendously for every project. And it depends on the scope of the project too. Usually it's just like I'm managing the cast and crew that we have and making sure people get paid on time type of thing. That's like the bare minimum of like a producer, the hiring and firing and planning. But just the greater your project gets, the more involved and more like executive in a way you have to be. So every project, my role expands. It just gets greater and greater because the project's bigger and bigger, and there's more involved. Like our last project was a SAG project. We never done a SAG project before, and that was all me, like working with SAG and just getting us approved and all that. So that was like a new thing that I learned how to do, how to manage it, how to be on top of it. Um,
So what do you like most about being a producer, do you think? Like why do you like it so much?
uh, I like that. I like that it keeps me involved in film, but it also maintains sort of the business knowledge that I have. I'm certainly more of like a like a business sort of analytical mind than I am maybe like a creative one. Like the idea of like directing or like being a cinematographer, that doesn't that's not something I could see myself doing. Um, but I know that I want to work in film, and I just like I told you earlier, like when I first started like making dinky films for YouTube or like messing around in like GarageBand or FL Studios. I just like how things get made, and if I can be sort of one of the heads behind getting something like a film made, then like that's awesome. That's like exactly what I do, what I want to do. I want to be there from the start and I want to watch it to the finish and just be involved in that process however I can.
I resonate with that because whenever I see just like even like big budget films like the ones like Dune or the Batman, I'm always like, how is that made? And whenever I watch like behind the scenes stuff, it's always so interesting to see like what deliberate choices they actually made and what and how it affected the actual movie, the end product. For example, like we'll take like the Batman. They used a vintage lens, the Helios 442, which is like a pretty low. It's like you could pick one up for like $130 on eBay
Hmm.
used. So it's always like interesting to see why they use certain things in films, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Like the whole like making of something, the whole like the whole like concept of you can take something and make it into like a movie, and you could watch it at every single stage, and it's like you turn nothing into something, and now it's on now it's on the screen, and you were like, I was there for every part of this. I contributed to this project, and it's affecting other people's lives. It's inspiring other people. So
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
absolutely.
So I actually wanted to like deep dive now into like your individual projects. Now that we have like a kind of like a scope of KT as a whole, I wanted to go into play by ear because I feel like that's almost like the most prominent installment out right now. Do you believe so? Like that's kind of like the most like recent and like most like put together one, would you say? In terms of like
Yeah.
where you guys have started and now your products now. Yeah, so like it's basically I kind of like resonated with this web series as I watched it because it's like the struggles of a long distance relationship. You have one person in LA, you have another person in Amsterdam, and like the 9 hour difference, all the different intricacies behind like long distance relationships is actually interesting because I used to have a long distance relationship. So really cool stuff.
Where was it? Like, what were the
Well,
locations?
yeah, it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't LA and Amsterdam. It was PA and Long Island, so it's not that bad. It's like 3 hours, but
Yeah,
I
but
still like
leaving Long Island in general can be annoying. So
exactly. Yeah, like the
it's a
the
taxing
traffic
commute.
jam. Exactly. I wanted to know like what was like when did you first hear about play by ear and like walk me through like the early stages and what that kind of looks like from a production standpoint.
Yeah. So that kind of started. That idea started, I think, in 2020, maybe 2019. Like a little before the pandemic really hit. Yeah, Dylan just kind of had the idea of making something um, just about a long distance relationship because at that point he was living in Amsterdam and I think he was just kind of like alone while out there. Like he had like his family who lives out there, but at that point he didn't really have. He was still getting used to living out there, like in another country. Um, so I think he was just thinking about the distance and also thinking about, his parents back in the 90s. They had a long distance relationship from between Boston and Amsterdam. And like they would see each other like every 2 weeks, which is crazy to think about. Like taking all
Yeah.
those flights and all that jet lag just to see each other for like maybe a weekend. And no internet or not really internet. Like they couldn't call each other. They had to see each other basically to talk to each other realistically. Um, so we just kind of thought about that. I was like, well, what would that be like now? Uh, would it be easier or would it be harder? Um, so then he kind of pitched the idea to me and then to two of our collaborators, Simon, who was also on Dilettantes,
Yeah.
Simon Keenan Kincaid, and then his partner, Emily Zisco, she's just a phenomenal writer. Um, and he was like, we should write something, like we should work on this. We should put something together, like maybe like a series or something. Um, and it kind of like ebbed and flowed. Like for a few months, we were like coming up with things, like working on stuff, and then we kind of like gave up. We were like, whatever. Um, and then we kind of went back to it, and then like Emily and Simon really put together this like really great arc. And we all sort of like it was mostly them like writing the episodes. Like Dylan and I chipped in a little bit. Um, but then we kind of realized, oh, we got something. Like we have six great episodes that we can like definitely like do and like put together. And so that took about a year maybe. And we were like, well, it makes sense to do it in Amsterdam because that's where Dylan is, and that's it would be interesting to film out there. And then Simon and Emily are out in LA. Um, so we'll just do it there as well. And that's where it's going to be based at both those spots. So we had the scripts and we knew that we needed the money to do
Hmm.
such an endeavor. So we did a crowdfunding campaign in like 2021. And that was super successful. We raised, I think, 105% of our goal. So like the goal was like 25K. We ended up with like I think 27.5K.
So I wanted to ask you,
Uh,
what is the process behind like the whole like crowdfunding thing? Like what is the do you have to like submit like a proposal pitch and like how is that process? Because I've honestly I don't know like anything about how that works.
uh, Crowdfunding is, I mean, you pick the platform you want. Honestly, if you're a filmmaker, I would highly recommend Seed and Spark. That's what we use for this. It's a um, very helpful site. So not only, does it help you can put together obviously a crowdfunding campaign. All you have to do is just make an account for all these places and just start putting one together. But Seed and Spark sort of has to approve it. They review, so that's what's great about them. They review it, they give you feedback, you go through it, you make the change, you make their suggested changes how you see fit, acknowledge that you saw them and made the changes, and usually they'll give you the green light after that. Sometimes if they still have other questions or something, they'll reach back out. So that's very helpful because they always want to make sure anything that gets launched is successful, which is also good because they also have their own sort of like team or like it's like a board or something that looks at a lot of the live projects. And if they really like them or like are ones like going like really well, they might even help fund it, which is awesome. It's like you're not going to know ahead of time. It's pretty random, but they do a lot. It's just a platform that was made because it wants everyone to be successful and wants everyone to be able to tell their story. And that's why I really like it and really recommend it to everybody. They also have like good educational resources to help you like build out the right campaign, as opposed to like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, not even like GoFundMe. That's not really for film. GoFundMe is for like personal stuff. Uh, they're just kind of you build it, you submit it, and then you're good. Like you can launch it whenever you want. You don't need anybody's approval, which is fine if especially if you're in a rush. But um, higher fees, not as much resources. But yes,
So these people looking like that are obviously where the funds are coming from, are they looking to get like a return on it? Like how does like the individual people like actually that are putting the money out for like how does that work? Are they like looking for a certain like percentage yield on like the return?
no, for crowdfunding, no, that's very much so like your friends, your family,
Okay.
or if you have an established fan base, your fans, they basically get to help you make it. Like they put in like 25 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever, to help you make the project that you want to make. It's more of it's kind of like community building in a way because it goes from rather than having your own money and like an investor, it's just like it's a large group of people who they're now part of the project because they put money in.
Yeah.
They're the reason that you're going to be able to make it because of what they've contributed. So it makes for a more personal experience. Maybe not everybody sees it that way, but that's certainly the intention. And to kind of help people uh maybe get a little something out of it, or at least to make it a little more fun than just like I gave you 25 bucks.
Yeah.
You also put together some nice like incentives, whether that's something as simple as shouting somebody out on social media for contributing, putting their name in the credits as a thank you, or putting together some sort of like fun, like engaging sort of gift. Like one thing that we did that people really liked was making magazine covers for the people who donated like 50 bucks. We would like design, we would put their like face on like a magazine and like make it very personal about them because one of the main characters works was working at a magazine and play it by
Yeah.
ear. And so we would pretend that these people were on the cover of the magazine that he worked for. And people
That's
really got a
cool.
kick out of it. So doing stuff like that, it can help. If people really like it, they might share it and like spread the word like, "Oh, look what I got for donating to this campaign. If you want this, you should too. It's fun."
Yeah, like it increases even like more awareness. Those like little things that
Exactly.
you do. That's cool. So like for like so you recommend like definitely crowdfunding is a way to go if you need to get like funding for a film. It creates a community, all that stuff. Did you did you monetize at all for like with Play It by Ear? Because I know all the episodes are on YouTube, but like, did
hmm
you get any returns from it?
We really hope that we could, but no, we don't have the viewership or I think or the subscriber count. There's two things you have to hit on YouTube to get monetized, but also the first episode is has a mature rating because it really just gut punches you
Yeah,
with some
yeah, it
things.
does. It does.
Um, and I don't think that can technically get monetized
Gotcha.
anyway. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we were hoping for it, but yeah, and at the end of the day, it's like we just want people to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and putting it on YouTube's rather than waiting around for like some company to pick it up. I mean, it's a web series. Like
Yeah.
the best home for it is your own like page.
So
So
I
it's more
wanted
of a
to.
portfolio piece. We have ideas for like a season two and a season three that we're kind of slowly chipping away at. But we'll get there. We'll get to that when like the time comes for it. But for now, we're working on other stuff.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to know what was I guess reasoning behind choosing like a web series format? Because I know it's like it's 6 episodes, right? And they're about like 10, 15 minutes each. What was the reasoning behind like laying it out, the story laying out like that, as in terms of like just a full movie instead?
Yeah, we've had people ask about like why isn't it like 20-minute episodes? Like similar thing, or like yeah, why not a movie? Dylan actually did put together a feature cut just
Oh,
for fun, I guess. Psychopath, if you ask me. Um, but it, we kind of went back and forth on it, but basically our idea was if we want to make this within the budget that we have and make it as intro like as high quality as we want it to be um and make it very digestible, then having it between 10 to 15 minute episodes is probably the best way to do it. It's long enough for people to get engaged with the story, and it's short enough for people won't feel like they're in a way doing us a favor by watching it. As you know, like
yeah,
you send someone like a 2 hour film you made and like, oh, I hope you like my film that I made. And I'm like, 2 hour? I'm not gonna watch this guy's
yeah,
two.
yeah.
I don't even know I don't even know he's a filmmaker. So this was like just a way, like there's just nuggets. And if you like the first one, maybe you'll watch the second one. And it just kind of would roll like that. So just basically being very mindful of people's time, but also like, within our own like financial means to get it done properly the way we saw fit.
I think also like that the 10-minute kind of like run times are good for YouTube because I also see like myself clicking on like that kind of range of duration videos, not anything longer, just because, I guess as a whole, our attention spans on social media have
Yeah.
diminished at rapiding rates. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to know what was also the difference between like because you edited this project. What was the difference between like editing the episodes and also just as like the genre as a whole? Like, what was the difference between this versus other projects that you've done?
Well, this project, even to this day, is still the most involved I've been, I think, in editing. I do really like doing editing. I like picture editing. Um, but yeah, like I was there from, you know, assembly cut, to like the final product with yeah, with the exception of like VFX. Obviously, I didn't do that stuff, but um, yeah, it felt very intimidating and like daunting because you're just staring at a blank a canvas and you're like, I hope what I do matches what the directors had in mind, which is still Simon and Emily. And so I was working very directly with them and doing like virtual editing sessions over Zoom to try and like nail down a lot of things. Because there's a lot of stuff that we filmed that was very, I think, ambitious. Um, and it just needed to really be right. Like especially like episode 5, like the whole thing is just basically a Zoom call like argument,
Yeah.
and you got to make sure that that's cut well and interesting. And that took a very long time. I like purposefully delayed working on it. Like I focused on the other episodes I had to work on because I was like, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Um, so because each episode for the ones that I worked on anyway, were all were all very different. They had their own quirks. They had their own, in a way, they had their own like segment of the rom-com dram genre. Like episode 1's a bit more funny. Episode 4 is a bit more rom-commy, like a rommy. And episode 5 is like way more drama. So I kind of dipped my toes in each genre and
Hmm.
got to really enjoy that.
Did you have a say, or was there even like a deliberate choice on the aspect ratio used for this project?
Um, we all just kind of agreed 4K, just
Hmm.
straight up.
Yeah.
And also because it's on YouTube. Our original intention was, like I said, like maybe a distribution deal somewhere on like Hulu or something. Then that felt very ambitious. And we were like, well, if we want to just put it on YouTube, you only need it to be like 1080p or like 4K. So we're filming in 4K, so let's just keep it at 4K.
Yeah. Because I know some people they like to do like the letterbox look with the bars and stuff like that, but I think also for
Yeah.
like web series on YouTube though, like I feel like it kind of fits the vibe to fill the whole screen because it is
Yeah,
like a web
exactly.
series, it's on your computer. Um, did you have a lot of creative freedom with like the way you wanted to edit things? Was there a sort of like outline you were following? How was that like editing?
Yeah, I definitely had creative freedom for sure. Um, I mean, yeah, I had the script to follow. Um, if there was anything in particular that we were all looking for, I try to match that as best as I could. But I mean, when I'm in the editing room, it's just me until it's time to review. So I could go about it however I felt. I think there's a lot of things, especially in I'd probably say like especially in episode 4, because that was the one I think I enjoyed the most editing. Uh, where a lot of the choices that were left in there were decisions that I made from the jump that maybe not everybody originally came to that episode with that in mind, but it just worked well. Um, and I guess episode 1 too, especially the beginning. Um, with still
Yeah.
quite an experience editing your producing partner doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to handle. How many like editing rounds were there for to get to the
Oh
final
God.
cut?
I mean, Dylan and I wanted to be done with our post process within like 6 months of filming, but we were in post for the better part of like a year and a half. It's a lot of
Wow.
back and forth. Yeah. We didn't finish. So the first 3 episodes released in like May of 2023. Uh, and episodes 4, 5, and 6 were maybe 70% done picture wise by then. So we really had to like crush through for another month or two, like finishing those last 3 episodes. Like I very much went to the last possible second to get it all
So,
done.
so how was that process like with Dylan? Did you guys like meet up like weekly and just like collaborate as much as you can to get the cut? Like, was it just countless hours of just editing, editing, editing? Like, what was that like? Just kind of like inching towards the final product?
Yeah, well, he did 3 episodes, I did 3 episodes. So it's really a matter of us individually meeting with Simon and Emily. Because when you're editing, you're really working with like the directors. Um, they more or less have like the final say in the edit,
Yeah,
along with you. I mean, if you're if you're an editor, you got to make sure that you have your creative input too, and not just be like a yes man, or else like
yeah.
it's not you're not going to go anywhere. Uh,
Do you think the project like
so
kind of falls apart if you're not like kind of sticking
yeah, if
in your
you're
own like yeah,
yeah, if you don't have the creativity to kind of just like take an idea somewhere, like do what you think's best for the picture, um, then you're just kind of the guy who can stitch things together for people, and you want to be more than that. Editing's a very undervalued job, and you want to make sure that you make your stamp on it on any project you
yeah.
touch. But yeah, so Dylan and I didn't really work together. Um, we had our own episodes and worked on them ourselves, and we'd give each other a little feedback every so often when we saw a cut. But yeah, it's really just working with Simon and Emily, and then just like it pretty much I worked my day job, and then from like not 9 or 10 p.m. to like 3 a.m. I was like editing an episode, and I just kept
So
doing that until it was done.
when did the first episode released when? What was the date of the first episode releasing?
I want to say it was May 21st sounds right. May 21st, 2023.
So, oh, 2023. For some
Yeah.
reason, I thought it was 2022. I don't know why. Because I know we talked about it a lot.
Oh wait, maybe you're
During
right.
because
I
I
get
I think
so. Oh wait,
yeah
yes.
yeah because
Well,
you
not,
sent
not,
I think the episode to me.
wait, you're definitely right. Sorry, I get so tripped up. Hold on.
No, I mean you were editing day in day out. I'm sure you wouldn't forget the release
No,
day.
2023 sounds right.
It's 2023.
Yeah,
2023.
2023.
Okay.
Yep.
For some reason, I thought it was 2022. So then during
But I mean, we were working on it in 2022. We wrapped filming March of 2022.
Gotcha. So then during, I guess, my tenure as an internship, you were just day in, day out, sleepless nights, just working on this thing till it was done. I had no idea the amount of strain you were going through getting this
Yeah.
done.
Oh yeah.
Cool. I mean, so you obviously edited, but I wanted to know if you had like, because you were also there on site with the crew. I wanted to know like what were you kind of contributing to the on-set experience of the whole project?
Um, pretty much. I mean, as a producer, I was just kind of managing it. You know, like I said, like most of my job was like pre. It's the fun thing about being a producer is you do a lot of work pre-production, organizing everything, setting things up, contracts in order, permits if you need them, locations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's so exhausting and stressful. And then like you feel like you're not done until you step foot on set and you can breathe a little bit because
Yeah.
for the most part, everything is technically out of your hands in terms of like, when we're rolling. Well, I'm not behind the camera, so I don't need to be involved in that part, but you're still there managing to make sure everything is still going smoothly. We're going according to schedule, we're within our budget. Any sort of problems or fire drills, like, step in and take care of them type of thing. But
Hmm.
it's a bit more relaxing um, than like pre-production, at least as a producer. But it's still a lot of work, and you're not done when you step on set. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like a combination of still overseeing everything and making sure everything's going to plan and everyone is feeling good um, and having a good time. Uh, I like to keep things light and fun on set,
I see
make
that on
make
the
make
little
people
tidbits.
laugh and make people laugh and whatnot, and just keep spirits high because especially in indie film, especially for a project like Play It by Ear, and even our last film, our current feature film, Bleeding, that we're in the middle of, you know, the schedules were tight and they needed to be tight for our own sake and for like our budget. So you kind of sometimes you got to say goodbye to some shots or some scenes because you just don't have the time for them anymore, or like people are getting stressed out because you're kind of putting them through the ringer in certain days. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm one of the bosses, so I just got to make sure that people are still feeling all right and can and get through it. And if anyone's got concerns, that their concerns are voiced, like everyone's heard
Hmm.
and whatnot.
So for location scouting, what was there any like location in particular that was difficult to like kind of like book, I guess, for shooting?
Uh, yeah, there was a few. Um, I wasn't as involved in location scouting on this one, mostly
Hmm.
because um, in LA, Simon and Emily could have handled that, and then our other producer, Virginia, she was based in LA, so she could have helped out with that too. When you're local, it's obviously easier. And same with Amsterdam. Dylan was there, and honestly, I think every location we filmed in Amsterdam was owned by like some friend of his, or he was like a
Yeah.
customer at this place type of thing, and he formed a relationship with at least someone who worked there. Um, so that made things easy. But there was a few. There was trying to think. There was one where like something really went like awry where we had to like very quickly pivot and find like a new location. I can't remember what happened though. It was like things were good and then all of a sudden they like changed their mind or something like that, or
Hmm.
were being testy, and we were just like, all right, I, I guess on to something else.
Yeah, I feel
Uh,
like there's almost like a sense of unexpectedness when you get to the location. Like you don't know. Obviously, you do your best to make sure that the location is the location. The location is the location you booked, and everything is supposed to go as a location permits. Like as in what you're capable of shooting there, what the environment's like. But then something could potentially go wrong, and then you have to kind of like be like, oh shit. So like, is there almost like always you always have in the back of your head like a plan B in mind for certain things in case this thing goes wrong?
uh, I've certainly started to think of Plan Bs more often. Back then, no, I did not.
Yeah.
Nobody did because we were so focused on like a checklist, like, all right, that's taken care of. Let's let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
Um, but nowadays, especially if there's a location giving you trouble, so like for example, um, on our current feature leading, we were looking for a shop like for the character to go to, like a tailor shop, or like a thrifty kind of like store. We
Mm-hmm.
found one. Things were in agreement, signed the agreement, whatever. And the guy was just being kind of odd, always kind of gave us like a vibe that he's like he was doing us a favor. I mean, which
Yeah.
obviously is true, but like he was very making it known that he wasn't into this idea, but was not saying no to it for some reason.
Yeah.
And then one day he just like literally like a week or two before filming, he just like called Dylan and was like really weird about it again. He's like, "Yeah, I don't want you guys to do this actually." And then we had to pivot and like find something else. And the place we found was fantastic. It all worked out. The guy was super into it and really passionate and like appreciative that we wanted to film at his shop, like of all places. So it all worked out. But yeah, you really gotta. It's good to have other ideas. But the store where the guy like canceled from us was such a unique store that
Yeah.
we had to change in the script and in our mind like what the new store is going to be, because we're not going to find another one like that in the area that we were in.
Yeah.
And then we just found like the second best option in terms of like what's similar enough for what we had
Mm-hmm.
written, what we envisioned. And then like I said, it all worked out. Really great day filming at that store, and the owner was like super nice and really enthusiastic about us being there, which is awesome. That's what you want,
There you go.
because it's an inconvenience going to someone's business and like filming there. But if the owner's cool about it and they actually like the idea of their store being like featured in a movie, and everybody wins. You know, everybody has a good time, and that's always fun.
Yeah, and also, do you think that like it also is like dependent on the times that you want to go that will affect how much it is and stuff? Because like for example, I'm planning a little short film for a motor film awards festival, so it's like car oriented, and we need like a diner, like
Mm,
just like an old fashioned diner that's like, and I just want the row of like diner seats that kind of like span across right by the windows, so you can
yeah,
see like I'm thinking of like a shot where it's like the cars outside, and you have the talent just sitting there drinking coffee, but it's like a top down shot where you could see like the car through the window and also town. So like I'm thinking like that's probably going to be a lot of money because like diners get busy on weekends and like I'm going to need to book out the whole like one big row of probably like that can fit, I don't know, like 40 different people. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So I guess it all depends on like what it is and what you want to get, right?
for sure. I mean, the best case scenario would be making a deal with them to do it at night when they're closed, like after hours. But it sounds like for what you want to get done, it's be better during the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of yeah, it all I mean it all depends on the owner, like the type of people who like run it, if they're into that idea, if their biggest concern is like this is gonna like eat up so much business that I have, like I don't like you're really gonna have to put in a lot of money in order for me
Yeah.
to even consider this. It also depends on the day. If you do it on like a Tuesday,
Yeah, it's
maybe they're
less.
not that busy. Like maybe they're more open to it.
Exactly.
Weekends are always tough. Even like booking something like a party or like a wedding venue or something like that, booking out a place on a weekend, like they jack up the price because like
Mm-hmm.
um you're that's their obviously their busiest time. They don't want to be
Yeah.
inconvenienced for your entertainment.
Exactly. It's like, oh, what is this like? What is this stupid film? I just want my money.
Exactly, yeah.
So back to editing. I know that there were some episodes there where they were left on like a cliffhanger. For example, like
Mhm.
episode 4, you kind of didn't know what Mila was feeling at the end. I believe it was like I have a note here, and it was basically like I wanted to know like what was the editing choice behind like leaving off the audience wondering for both episode 4 and also 6 because the ending is like also a cliffhanger where it's like you don't know what you're kind of just like it's her expression and then it ends. Was that like what did you want the audience to take away from those two different cliffhangers?
So for episode 4, she obviously gets like the bomb drop text from Lucas about him not coming home,
Yeah.
and we just see her try to process that. Uh, and basically, we just wanted to make sure that people watch this episode, they get through the episode, and it gets them like really at the edge of their seat, like ready to see like, well, what's going to happen now? Especially because 5 is such a static episode. One like there are two locations, and it's just them back and forth talking and having this argument. So you kind of want to get people either fully engaged in what she's feeling right now, or at least like kind of like angry with her to want to like yell at Lucas for like sending that text, and that will drive them into this next episode, which is the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like I said, like that was such a difficult episode to like edit and just kind of figure out the pacing and the vibe that we wanted it to have. And it can certainly I can see it feeling like a slog to get through in the sense of like it's just an argument and like it can be like very emotionally taxing to just kind of like deal with all these things flying around from both characters. So getting people kind of excited or like sort of like mentally ready to dive into that was our intention on that one. And for the last episode, it just kind of would feel weird to end it with them like together and them saying something like, "Oh, I missed you.
Yeah, yeah.
I love you." Where let's just like call it what it is and we're happy and we're back together. Or the opposite, be like, "What are you doing here? Get out. Like we're done." Like that's it would be just kind of cheap ending it either way, just like matter of factly. So we kind of wanted it to end on like kind of like have people piece together like and discuss more like what do they think? Is she relieved to see are they relieved to see each other? Did he make the right move by doing this? Or are they just gonna have this talk and like figure out what they are in each other's lives right now and if it can keep going?
I I like those like two endings because it made watching episode 5 just such an interesting experience, and there were also like certain like creative choices in episode 5 that I appreciated. For example, like on the call, like I don't know, Lucas's like frame seemed a lot more warm toned, and like Mila's was very cold tone. Like the way it was like colored and lit, it was a very high contrast, which like shows like the contrasting viewpoints that they have, and you know the contrast in their whole relationship.
Hmm.
But I don't even know if this was intentional, but I thought I'd throw it out there. There's like a shot of Mila. She like grabs her laptop to move, like to like a different spot, and the
Yeah.
desk is like really shaky. Like it's a pretty shaky desk. It just seemed like it was like a very unstable desk, and like I just thought to myself that it was like a shaky desk, and it's like also a shaky relationship. And I don't know if that was even intentional to begin with, but I saw that and I was like, that's like a cool little like nod because like the desk that she's even talking to him on is like shaky. It just shows how like unstable it is as a relationship too.
That was definitely not the intention, but I'll that's a good way. Honestly, it's a pretty great way to interpret that. It's like that video of Jordan Peele reading people's fan theories and Get Out, and he was just like, you
Yeah,
know what? He's like, you know what? Sure, it
yeah.
is.
All up to interpretation, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know just to close things off with play it by ear. Did you like learn anything specifically from this project? And if you could do it again, would you do anything differently?
Yeah, I absolutely learned a lot from this project. I think just the biggest thing was um, the importance of managing a budget, especially when you're filming in two different countries, and just staying on top of that and not expecting one to be easier than the other. And um, I mean, I learned a lot about editing. Nothing I
Mm-hmm.
could really specifically say, but like I said, that was like the most involved I've been in editing, besides like one other short film that I made. Um,
Yeah.
so I learned a lot about editing and elevated my confidence more as just a general editor, both like creatively speaking and just like um, the general skill of doing it.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, I feel like there's always something to take away when you're editing a project at this scale, you know. It's like you can't really put your finger on it, but it's like just going through the whole experience has kind of brought you out to like a new light in how you handle like workflow and all that stuff.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I wanted to get into the next one, and honestly, the one that kind of like wowed me the most was Play Me, like the
Mm.
horror short.
Yeah, yeah.
And I loved the 4:3 ratio. I personally just love 4:3 stuff. I don't know if it's just like a thing I have, but I absolutely love the way it looks. And I saw you were assistant editor on it, but I also
Yep.
saw that there was like different. You were collaborating with different creators. So what was like, whose like concept was it, and where? How did it kind of like blossom into like a collaborative scope?
Yeah, that was so Play Me was by Caleb Phillips. He is a phenomenal horror writer and director. He's most known for his short Other Side of the Box. He won the Midnight Shorts like competition at South by Southwest for that in like 2019. And he's an awesome guy. We we reached out to him like probably like a year or two after that short came out. We just kind of stumbled upon it. I was like, whoa, this is sick. We got to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
And he just happened to be like looking to make his next project. And we just started kind of building a friendship with him and relationship. We met him out in LA, like while we were filming Play It by Ear, like officially, like in person. And we just were kind of with him from the jump with that skit. Or sorry, that short. He'd like send us the script and be like, "What do you think?" We'd give him some feedback. And then he was looking to get it made out in LA, and we offered like some crew members that we worked with on Play It by Ear and helped him do it. And we offered to do his edit for free. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like an act of good faith and kind of strengthening our relationship with him. So Dylan mostly did the edit, and then I came in to help out with the final scene when she like gets out of the car and is like look and like with the
Yeah.
hammer like trying to like escape but like not look up and find the guy. Then she like stares at him.
Yeah.
Um, so I did a very basic, just general like edit of that just to kind of get the concepts down for him and help Caleb kind of visualize what it is he wants to edit that. So I was really only involved in that one scene, but it was the most important scene.
Yeah.
Like the ending of that short is kind of where it all comes together. But it's just very cool to be a part of that. And the short has done well on Alter, like the YouTube channel, the horror YouTube channel
Yeah.
that it's on, and people seem to really love it. A lot of people who have seen Other Side of the Box seem to like it either like as much as it, some even maybe a little more. Um, so felt very good and very happy to have been involved in that. And yeah, we're also working with him on his next project as well, which is a
Nice.
feature. We're very
Nice.
excited about that.
I love that it was like such an interesting and captivating story and kind of had you on the edge of your seat the whole way through with such like a I guess simple concept from the standpoint of like budget and production because it was kind of like a
Mhm.
smaller end scale. It was just like you had the two people in a car at night. It's like what can you do? What concept can you bring to the table to make this like very minimalistic setup into something that's like actually like really captivating. So I always love when filmmakers are able to create like again something out of nothing, where it's just a small like concept and it has such a great story. And I think that even like emphasizes just the importance of a good story as a whole. Like you can shoot something, you could edit it, you could edit it and shoot it in the best light, but if it's not a good story, then no one's gonna watch it, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what Caleb's really good at. Because his horror is not it's not jump scares. It's just kind of like that bone chilling like eeriness of you just waiting to see what's going to happen. Other Side of the Box is the same way. That all takes place in one house. And there's a looming mystery the entire time, and you're trying to figure out with the character like what's going on. Just
Mm-hmm.
like you're doing the same with Liz, the main character in Play Me. You're with her, trying to figure out what's going on. Like, does she have a problem, or is she like trapped in this like situation that she like needs to finally like get out of?
Yeah.
He's just very good at that. And this feature that he's working on, that script. I've read every draft of that script, and that was one of those like few times where from probably like I'll say page two, not page one, but from page two to the end, like I was hooked. I was like dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone who he knows the genre that he wants to make, and he just knows how to do it. Uh, so I'm always excited to see what he's got next.
So you're gonna have a bigger role on the next project in terms
Uh,
of
I think it'll be it's somewhat a little more involved. Like, we helped out a little bit with pre-production, but we're primarily going to be managing like the post-production, not necessarily doing the editing, but
hmm
like helping out with that and also like logging and syncing files for them and like kind of prepping everything for post and like handling deliveries and like hiring like people for posts. Just
yeah,
like overseeing the process, post producing, I guess is the appropriate term. But more
gotcha.
certainly more involved than like Play Me. Like, Play Me, like I never went by the six. It was in LA and I was here in
hmm
Massachusetts. But this one is filmed in Massachusetts, so I could have swung by. It was nearby my place.
So when you look at like the creator of Play Me, like you're talking about this guy and how talented he is. What is like the path to like, because these people need to get recognition, right? You know, you're all
Mhm.
working towards something. So like, what is like the process behind even like getting to like a Hollywood status? Because like what I watched is like Hollywood worthy. Like Play Me was like that was like, you know what I mean? That could
Yeah.
be brought into a bigger scale on like a bigger screen, and like I could see audiences watching it. But like it's almost like, how does like one get that recognition? There's so many people doing the same thing. Have you had experience like seeing other people and like how they have kind of climbed the ranks and how you have as well?
Um, a little bit, yeah. There's these producers that Dylan and I have virtually met. They're based out of Texas. We got they got recommended to us to reach out to from I think a friend of Dylan's mom who's also down in Texas. They're really cool guys. They're like I'd say they're a step above us in terms of their career as like producers. But they worked with this guy. I forget where he's from. He's in Europe. Um, and he made this short film called So Torn, which is very good, uh, really well made. It eventually got picked up by like Fox Searchlight, and then like we know that the Coen brothers like watched it, which is awesome. Like, what a thing to say about like a short film that you made. I think it was his first short film ever too, which is crazy. And then from there, they got like financing and whatnot to turn it into a feature, and that feature recently got into a festival. I know it got into South by Southwest, and I got into something else. But at the other one that I can't remember the name of, they got a distribution deal from there, and it's going out into Europe, I think in a couple months. But like, what a huge leap to go from like I'm just a guy with an idea and a short film to, well, now I made the short film a feature and I got distribution and all this recognition for it and whatnot.
So
So
distribution's
I've
the way
watched
to
that from
go.
afar. I mean, it's always the end. It's always the end
Yeah.
game. You want to make sure people can watch it, but you also want to make sure that, you can get some return on it.
Because there's always like that Hollywood buzzword, like Hollywood, Hollywood, Hollywood. But like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like, is it like the studio that produces it? That's sort of like what Hollywood is. If it's like under one of those bigger studios that actually make the movie, and like, what is it like to actually get a movie? Like, I'm not sure if you actually know the details behind this, but like, how do you actually get a movie into like the box office and like into like a movie theater?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know the full details, but
Yeah.
that requires a distribution, like a
Mhm.
distribution company. Like, A24, they're primarily a distribution company. Um, they're rather than like a production company. So like so many films that they have under their belt, like the most recent example I can think of, probably because it's like one of the few where like I know its backstory, is that film from was it last year? Talk to Me. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
With the medium's hand. That was made by these guys with like a YouTube channel. They did a little horror stuff, but they were most like I think
Yeah.
prank
Yeah.
videos or something. They made the film, and A24 just kind of saw it at a film festival or something, and they picked it up for distribution. So like they weren't a part of the film from the start. They just liked it and offered to do its distribution and marketing for it and all that stuff. So that's why A24 is why it got into theaters and why it did as well as it did. If A24 wasn't there to like pick it up, I mean, another company probably would. I mean, it's horror sells.
Mhm.
But you know, that that's how it got in the box office. That's how it got, well known and made its great return and like profit and all that stuff.
So at these festivals, is it kind of like everyone watches each like film that is submitted? Like how does like from the festivals that you entered into like festival? Yeah, so how is that
Hmm?
like the whole like attendance thing? Like how is it there? Like the experience? Do you like watch everyone's films there like as an audience?
No, no, there's no time. Um,
Yeah, that's what I would
depends on the
think.
festival you're at too, but The creators or the heads of the festival, they put together like a crazy schedule that has, um, like short films, but usually in blocks. Like they take what they think are like five of the best short films that complement each other from their genre, their tone, or whatever, and they group those into like one. So you go to like a 1:30 showing to watch five short films, but there could be another block going on in like next door, like in another screening room or something like that.
Yeah.
It's all staggered out, and it's basically a pick and choose of like as an attendee what you think is going to work, what you think you're going to like the best or most interested to see. And usually the filmmakers are there at their own screening. So, because there's usually a Q&A following, and you can meet them if you want, um, which is nice. But and also depending on the festival, like the bigger ones, distributors go there, and that's where like a lot of films get picked up. I mean, there's also like things like the American film market, which is happening next week, where that's literally just like a trade show for like distributors promoting themselves, but also promoting to production companies like films that they have, like they're like representing and like they want deals for and stuff like that. It's a so many different avenues you can go
Yeah.
down, but those are the two biggest, like getting representation from a sales agent or a distributor or like hoping like one of them sees your film at one of the bigger festivals if you get in.
Interesting. Interesting. I've always wondered like how that stuff works, and like you said, there's so many different ways that it can arise. Um, so I saw that there was something that you directed, Absent,
Oh yeah.
and it's a very creative piece. And I wanted to know what was the whole vision behind that film or that
Yeah,
short
that
piece, as you can call it.
yeah, that film was fun. That was the lore behind it's funny. The so one of my best friends, he's in med school right now. At the time he was finishing up his general like med school education at UConn. And at the end of every semester, or end of every year, they do like their version of like the Gong Show, which if you don't know what that is, it's just like it was like a late night television like talent show thing where people would like sing or like do some stupid talent or something, and if like nobody liked it, they hit a gong and they get off stage. So all students were encouraged to do something. It could be a film, it could be like singing, like some sort of skit, some whatever, anything real, but usually it's like related to the program because everyone's suffering through med school
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
So you make light of it. And my friend had this idea for like a couple years, but he knew if he did it too soon, no one would watch it because if you're a freshman or like a not freshman, a first or second year,
Yeah,
guaranteed to get booed immediately just because you're so new to the program. That's just what they do to mess with you.
yeah.
Um, so he thought he'd wait till like his last year to do it. And he pitched me the idea because I'm like his only friend who does any sort of filmmaking. And he's like, when there was like one semester where I was in class, or like I kept skipping this class, and I thought I was technically attending the class because I would do these like online assessments called IRAT. I would do them and then I'd leave class. But apparently that didn't count as attendance, and I kept missing them. And I kept getting emails from my professor, and every email got progressively worse and worse. It'd be like, "Hey, Steve,
Yeah.
you missed class today. Just want to see what's going on." Then it got to a point where it's like, all right, at this point, if you don't show up again, like you're gonna have to fail the program, and like you really got to show up. And Steve was ignoring all these emails and still doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
And like then they finally clicked with him that like, oh, I guess what I was doing doesn't count as attendance, and I should probably start showing up to my class. So he pitched me the idea of like centering it around that experience and like making it in like a dark room and just like the students like hearing hearing the emails be read to them. And then I don't even remember it. Like I truly don't remember how else he pitched it other than that. But I was like, I mean, this sounds really stupid, but I'll do it for you. Like,
Yeah.
we'll pick a day and we'll film it.
Yeah.
So like literally it was like a day. We probably filmed for like 5 hours just in this like random dark classroom in
What did you
Yukon.
film it with?
Oh, my phone.
Your phone. Gotcha.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'll put cinematic mode on. We'll be good.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's so dark in there anyway. Like the only thing you could see is the exit sign. So like I didn't even get a clear picture. It was blurry the entire time. And it worked. It for what
No,
we were
yeah,
trying to
it,
do.
it
Like it
did.
worked great. So so we filmed it and I was like, I don't really know how this is gonna turn out, but you know, I'll play around with it and I'll send you what I got when I finish. And when I first started putting it together, I was like, all right, I can take this to the next level. Like I'm just gonna get
Yeah,
like
yeah.
really weird with it. So I just kept finding like sound packs online for like horror stuff and like random sound effects and whatnot. Um, also I had my friend meet with his professor and record him reading all the emails. So like I was throwing those in, layering them on top of each other, like putting in all these different like horror
It's
sounds and
very sound
songs and
design
stuff.
heavy.
Yeah, I had to, or else you're just
Yeah.
watching like a blurry screen
Yeah.
with nothing. And so I just kept taking it to the next level. Like every time I sat down, I was like, what else can I do? And I just kept kind of doing that and like throwing it in. And then I sent it to him and he like called me. It's like, you took my heaping pile of shit and you turned it into gold. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
And and then he sent it to like some of his friends and they absolutely loved it because like they all had experience with this professor too. He's like insanely strict on attendance and has like always been known to be this stickler. And he was nervous that it would like put him in a bad light and
Yeah.
like put him on the spot. Um, but then it played. Oh, also like the song at the end, that was me. I
Yeah,
recorded
I
that
saw.
song. It was my parody of Mr. Rager by Kid Cudi.
I
I actually
saw.
wrote that. I was in a work meeting and it just kind of like hit me. So I was like writing the lyrics down in the middle of the meeting, and once the meeting like ended, I like turned off my work laptop and recorded it.
I was like,
Uh,
I was listening to him, like, that's Brian. Like, I know that's Brian.
um, so oh yeah, so the event comes and he plays it, and the people who were running the event absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Before they watched it beforehand, but everybody in attendance was so like drunk, I get at the
Yeah,
point
yeah.
that like it came on. It's 2.5 minutes, and they couldn't stand the first 30 seconds and were booing because they didn't get what was going on because they were so like wasted, I guess.
Yeah.
So they stopped it, and then the guy running it was like, "No, we need to finish this. This was literally the best thing that was submitted this year." So then they play it and everybody liked it and like cheered
Yeah.
for it and got a kick out of it. But Steve like called me afterward and said what happened. And that made me so mad because of like all the effort I put in. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I'll show them what sucks. So then I had
Yeah.
all these discount codes from like a bunch of like film festivals I get emailed about. So I just kept submitting them to like all these film festivals. And we got into like by the end of like a year, I did it for like a year. By the end of the year, we got into I think 20 and I
Wow.
won 5 awards for it.
Wow. That's
A lot of the
insane.
festivals are like, they're like online
Yeah.
festivals. They're not that legit, but still, like getting awards for it's cool.
Yeah, you got
And getting
some.
getting recognition. Um,
Exactly.
I said to Steve, I was like, now you can tell people you're not only going to be a doctor, but you're an international filmmaker, an
Exactly.
award-winning filmmaker.
There you go. Courtesy of Brian Reilly.
Yeah.
Um, I actually have two. I resonated with like the whole idea of how like a friend came to you and like you made something for him and like an experience for him because every year, so like I have different friend groups, but like I have like friends from different friend groups that are also in different friend groups, like from school and like elementary school and stuff. So like I had I had a buddy of mine hit me up. He hits me up every like around Christmas time. So like not around Christmas time, but like now. So like leading up to Christmas, because they do like Secret Santa, and
Mhm.
he got the same guy as last year. And for last year, he made me make like a movie poster of like all their friends on it, like
Nice.
like a
That's cool.
parody. Yeah. So now like he's like, dude, I got him again. Like he needs to make something else. And I'm like, bro, I know so much more now about like design. Like I could literally like make this into like a official ass like poster. Like it can look like so like legit because like the other one was like it was, it was whatever. But now I like actually know about Photoshop and like I'm making it and having so much fun because like you said, like when you get back to it, you're like, what can I do like to spice it up? And I'm
Mhm.
like, every time I look back at it, I'm adding new things to like make it more legit, whether it's like branding or like the actor like things on the top of
Oh
their
yeah,
names,
yeah.
the paragraph of like the credits underneath the title,
Hmm.
all like the logos for like the production things on the bottom. So like, yeah, I always love that. And then also, me and my friend go on like spring break usually together, and every year I make a video on it. But the video is not just spring break. Spring break is like maybe like because I bring my camera down there, so we go to like Florida. But
Hmm.
the actual portion of filming in Florida is like 20% of the whole video. I made a 2 hour like film like with
Oh,
lore and
wow.
stuff about the vacation, but like it just made no sense, but it was also like so cool because we made like a story out of it. And
She like
like
narrated or anything?
so I used AI like text to voice or whatever, like because
Oh yeah.
it's getting really good now, and you can like voice sample people. So like I put like Alec Baldwin in there, like speaking, and like he's like part of the story somehow, and like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. So like for next year, now it's gonna be probably like 5 hours because I'm working on it now, and it's gonna be in like this completely like ridiculous, like doesn't have to be this big, but it's such a fun experience because I can once I'm done with it, I can click it and like my friend gets to watch that and like it's like a freaking like saga of just like 5 hours of like and he has no idea what it's gonna be and I'm just there like this and like I'm like crossing my fingers like this guy's gonna love this thing.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. That's so sick. But
I love
honestly, I feel like the
making
best things that people make is when there's like no rules. Like
exactly.
Absent had no rules. I could do whatever the hell I wanted. It was for this like joke night. You're making this like epic spring break documentary because
Yeah,
it's just whatever you feel like in the moment. It's
exactly.
like the first film that's on our site is just this short film that like Dylan and Simon made while they were in Australia. They made it for $100, and it's so low key, it's so low quality, and it's just like it's just funny. And like yeah, it was for like a school assignment technically, but like they just had fun with it. When you just have fun
Yeah.
with it, like it's crazy what you can come up with. You can make
And I
something so epic just because you're having a fun time making it.
exactly, and you have to have it. I think as a creator, that
Yeah.
like one project on the side that like you can just ball out and do whatever you want with it. Like for like I'd never be able to get Alec Baldwin to freaking narrate my movie or even have like the rights to like or like characters like the Grinch is in it. Like I would never be able to like gain like that
I gotta
IP.
watch this.
Yeah, no, it's the other one. So the first one was called Escape to Florida. It was a 30-minute video. Then last year's 2024, so like technically this year's because we went. It was return to Florida, but it's return and then two like Roman
Yeah.
numerals and then Florida, and it was 2 hours, and I made a whole like exposition because like now I'm interconnecting the storylines like from Escape to Florida to Return to Florida, and the next one is Portals to Florida, which is like
All
you're
right.
probably like what the hell, but
You're just
it's
gonna insert portals
yeah.
in
So,
there.
well, the thing is, we like to go to Universal,
Nice.
and they're coming out with the new Epic Universe Park, coming out in 2025 in June. So, and the whole idea behind that park is like there's portals to each land that you go
Okay.
to. So like it's like now it's like portals to Florida, and it's gonna be
Uh-huh.
like this this whole lore about the portals and stuff. So I don't mean to go on a tangent, but like I just love doing that stuff because it's just like just fun. You're just making fun, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this leads me to, no pun intended, this leads me to leading the next film that you have going on that you're producing. And I love the premise of it because it's just like it's this old movie actor that has dementia, but he can still remember like his old Hollywood roles. And there's a cool dynamic between like the caretakers and like and them like, you know, obviously they have to take care of him, and they're entertaining sort of like his like delusions of him being in the character, and like it just sets the stage for just a great narrative. So I wanted to
Yeah.
know, like, again, like with other projects, what was like the early stages of it? Where are you now with it, and what do you have planned?
Yeah, that this movie feels like a fever dream sometimes because we literally we it hasn't even been a full year since we've like started working on this and we already have it like shot and like almost picture locked. Uh Back in like December, uh Dylan has always had this idea of filming like some movie at some point in this house in Guilford, Connecticut that his like parents have. Really nice house, beautiful place, like right on the Long Island Sound. And he caught wind that they were planning on selling it soon. So then he like borderline panic wrote a script. Um, and it was this because he had this idea in his head for a while, like exploring the idea of dementia and having it through like a film star, a former film star. And he wrote like the bear idea, and it was really good. Like I told him, I was like, wow, this could be the best thing you've written. Which isn't saying much. I'm just kidding. Um, and then he hired Simon again, like our frequent collaborator and friend, to help him like iron it out. And then basically it was like a 50-50, maybe even like a little more Simon than Dylan eventually. Just because he just kind of gave him the reins to take things to the next level. But the two of them worked on the script and we basically had a finished version by like February, I'd say. 80, 85 pages, 83 pages, something like that, ready to go. And then we started pre-production for it. We got another producer on, Sam Valletta, who she was Kat in Dilettantes, but since Dilettantes,
Hmm.
she has made quite a name for herself as both an actor and a producer, um, in the Boston area. So we really wanted her involved in this, and as well as like a lot of the crew that she has come to know and like work with a lot. So yeah, it was a very rushed project. Originally on our mind, we're like, oh, we can make this for like 15K, super cheap, just like get the right guy to play Robert, like the main character, and then we'll be good. And then it kind of got into, well, maybe the script is a little more than deserving than a 15K budget and some like thrown together crap. So then we started sending it out to like some bigger named actors, and a lot of them would get back and be like, "Oh, they're interested." And I was like, "Whoa, I didn't think we'd make it this far."
Hmm.
And eventually, we were working things out with a pretty well-known actor. We were like right there to having him, but from the jump, when we met with him, or when Dylan and Simon met with him, he was basically like, "I shouldn't be in this, and here's why." And if you make these changes, maybe that'll change some things. So they made some changes to the script, for him to make it more like him. And we were like maybe a month. I think we were a month away from when we planned to shoot, and we made the schedule around his schedule. Um, and then he just dropped out, like in the literally in the middle of negotiating with
Wow.
this agent. They're like, "Yeah, he's good." And it was pretty much for that. Like he didn't think he'd do the role right, which is fair. I would have preferred we didn't have to make it this far in the negotiations for him to like
Yeah.
officially say that. But that was a very panic moment because that was like what we had going. That was like our North Star. It was like following that we had this like this pretty well-known like character actor. But we always kind of had in our back pocket this guy Hugo Armstrong, who is an actor that we saw when we were at a film festival last year for Play It By Ear called Dancing with Films in LA. And it's at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. And we went to a short film block, and this film called A Wedding Day was there. And it was like easily Dylan and my like favorite film of the bunch. It was so good, really funny, um, really great concept. And Hugo played this like old man, who was one of the main characters, and he crushed it. We were like in awe of him. And so we sent him the script. He absolutely loved the script. He like called Dylan after and like said how much he like loves it and like really would want to play this character if we wanted him to. So then we had him do an audition and like he sent 3 videos, I think, for 3 different scenes. After we watched like half of the first one, we're like, it's him. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Like no one else could do this role. He's easily the perfect fit. And so then we're like, all right, we got our lead again. We can continue. We didn't change the dates. Everything was set in stone because all our cast and crew and locations went on were already locked in at that point anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we filmed it in June through like early July, all in Guilford. We did one day at this studio in Shrewsbury, Mass. To film old movies. We wrote scenes for like Robert, the main characters, like old movies, and we filmed them. Like old like 60s movies or whatever, which was fun. But yeah, so filmed it in 15 days, which was insane.
Jeez.
Had the script written, good to go in like 3 months. Did pre-production for like 3, 4 months and filmed it in 15 days. And a couple months later, we're almost picture locked. So this
That's
was,
crazy.
I should be bald with all the stress of speed running this film.
Yeah, so what was that like? I mean, you said 15 days you guys did it. Was it 15 consecutive days or was it 15 days spread out across like how long?
Yeah, it was sorry, 16 actually. The studio day is a separate day. Yeah, we did 3 weeks, 5 days on, 2 days off. So it was like
Gotcha.
Saturdays through Wednesdays.
And these were all locations around Connecticut
Yeah,
area-ish.
90% of it's filmed in the house, like in this one house that's supposed to be where like Robert lives.
Mm-hmm.
And then we filmed at this tailor shop in New Haven. We filmed at like the Guilford Green like park and did some shooting days like along like a lot of the main roads in Guilford. Um,
Did you have
and
to
then
get
like the
permits for that
studio day.
stuff? Like the parks?
Only for like the driving. We had because it was like the major road in Guilford. We had to like get a permit with the Connecticut Film Office and work with the Guilford Police, like kind of like just pay them a
Uh-huh.
fee for like their services to like block off the road and let us film.
What type of shot was it for like the car? Because I do car videography, so I was wondering like
Mhm.
what type of shot were you guys trying to get with it? Like where was the camera?
The camera was in a car ahead of it, and just kind of like film.
Oh, so he's
We
like a
had we were gonna do a Russian arm, but the people who we were getting that from, I don't know, they canceled. It was annoying. They just
yeah.
canceled on us for some reason. So we had to pivot and get a U-Haul pickup truck and strap everyone down in the back of that pickup truck. And our like DP was just like in the bed, just filming head on
Was it
or to
any
the side.
stabilizer or was it just like a monopod? Like how did he have the camera?
Yeah, he was on a tripod
Tripod? Gotcha. So that
and
was with
just like
that like
people holding him.
yeah, that was with that like fancy like black car, right? That like
Yeah, the
vintage black.
Porsche.
Yeah,
And I think it was
yeah,
like a 1957 Porsche Speedster, I think is
yeah. I
the
mean, the
official
car
title.
videographer in me is just like always wants to learn that what car it is, how'd you guys film it, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
that was like one of the few days I wasn't on set. I was bummed. I don't think I would have been there anyway. Like I might not have like gone on the road with
Hmm.
them just for the sake of like people, like the amount of people
Was
necessary.
it like a windy road type thing, or like how was the road? Was it just kind of like what was the vibe you were
Uh
trying to get with it?
yeah, we kind of felt we had a pretty good amount of footage. A lot of it was just like thin roads, like kind of along the water. And I think it really was just one road. Like it's just one really long, like main road. I
Hmm.
think it's like the road to get into Guilford, which is why
Yeah.
they had to block it off and like we had to get this permit because people very much so use it. But just like I think it was like 6 hours just like on the road, filming it from different angles on like different parts of the road and just kind of like telling them what to
Yeah.
do and whatnot.
because I have like the whole like system where you actually suction mount like an arm to the car. So it's like suction, then there's like joints and then a rail, and then from the rail it's like a quick release, and you lock in like an arm, like a stabilizer arm, and then from there you put the gimbal on, and then the
Yeah.
camera. So I'm like controlling everything from inside the car. But like, I guess for a shot like what you guys were trying to do, it would just be too like setup intensive for that. But like
Well,
for me, it's
that
like,
is what we wanted to do, and then it just didn't work out. So then we had
gotcha.
to pivot and get really indie film with it.
Yeah, the tripod on the truck bed.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, it's what
it came out good,
everyone's
really
like.
good.
Yeah, exactly. That's the product is the product, and if the product's good, it doesn't matter how you do it. Obviously, safely.
Yeah.
But so what is the actual stage now? Right now with post production with the film.
Yeah, it's currently in Amsterdam being edited by Storm Post Production. They're like an Oscar-winning production house. They've done, I think their biggest titles that they've done were the movie Another Round from a couple years ago, and like they did like The Lobster. They're doing this other like huge documentary movie from like Steve McQueen, the guy who did 12 Years a Slave. But but Dylan worked there. He worked there while he was in Amsterdam, so he like got really close with like a lot of the head editors and really wanted to work with them. And like they're incredible. I did an assembly edit just to get it in a decent place. We wanted to make sure because we didn't have a lot of time. We have not had a lot of time with anything for this
Mhm.
film. Um, that we could get it into a good enough place where by the time it gets to Storm, the guy's not sitting there scratching his head. Like he can take our general concept and just and take it above and beyond what we were thinking. And he did exactly that. He had like maybe I think 3 weeks and he absolutely crushed it and like changed things around so significantly and just cut out a lot of fat. It went from like an hour 48 to an hour 20.
Wow.
And it's so tight and it's really good. I think by the end of the weekend we'll probably be officially picture locked and then it'll go off
Wow.
to like VFX and color and sound and all that stuff. Hoping to get it done by the end of the year.
So what makes a good editor that can like do the job that this editor has done on the film? Like, is it just being able to have a fast workflow and handle pressure? Like, what is it that you guys look for in an editor to handle something like this?
I mean, certainly that, like the confidence to be able, in this case, with such a tight deadline, be able to turn it all around. But also one who can come in with fresh ideas. This guy had no attachment to this film whatsoever, but all of us did. So if I edited this thing, we would not be where it's at right now because there are so many things where we would just be stuck thinking of
Yeah.
like this isn't working, but I mean, we don't know what else to do. Like this is how we wrote it, this is how we want it to be. So having an outside perspective like that, and this guy's been an editor for like 12 years or something like that. Like he knows what he's doing. But he could take we would tell him this isn't working or like we need to try something new. And he would just kind of come at it with what he thought could work, or he would suggest some things. And it was absolutely ideas none of us would have thought about, or just rearranging the orders of a few scenes to make certain things land better. And just, yeah, he could just pick it apart and put it back together in a much stronger way than anyone else could. And again, it comes with the fact that he's obviously a very confident and competent editor because of how long he's been doing this and all the bigger projects he's even worked on.
Hmm.
And the fact that he's more than just a guy who can stitch things together. He comes at it with a new perspective and with ideas to make things work stronger. He's not a guy
Gotcha.
where if you tell him, I think we're done, if he doesn't think you're done, he'll probably tell you, I don't think we're done,
Yeah.
which is what we needed, and we really appreciate it that he
They
could do
care about
that.
the product. They like
Yeah.
really invest in it. Gotcha. Gotcha. So, I just want to ask you a few just like closing questions because I think we got a lot of coverage on like your individual projects, but I wanted to know just like sort of like to paint with a broad brush, What has been like the biggest like criticism piece, like constructive criticism piece that you've received that's kind of helped you out the most throughout your journey?
Hmm.
So it's a pretty kind of demanding, I guess, answer, but
Uh, I feel like most of the criticism comes from like myself and like my partner. Just like, you know, he's way more than me, but when we're working on something new, he'll go back to what we made before and like dump all over it basically. Which I mean, you always want to make sure your next project's better than your last, for sure. And every time it's like leaps and bounds better. Like we just take things to like a much better level. Not necessarily story wise, but like, you know, the quality, the way it was organized, the well, yeah, I guess quality. Yeah, I mean, this story is by far the strongest and like tightest that we've had, like leading. But it's also the biggest in terms of scale and budget and and whatnot. But yeah, I just feel like it's always. Uh, I think maybe I come back from projects with like a new perspective on things. Like if I made a mistake or like we made some sort of um like error, whether that's like in how we handled like the schedule or the budget or like how things were managed on set. I think about those things and how to do it better, how to do it differently. Um, so yeah, I don't think we get criticism handed to us unless we're
yeah.
like actually doing something wrong, which I don't think we've ever inherently done something like atrociously wrong. We've just like made some mistakes and if like we figured that out ourselves because we always learn from everything that we do. Um, but yeah, I think of how things went wrong or things got stressful when they didn't need to be and why that was and like what I can do to avoid that in the future. Um, and in terms of like criticism for our projects, I mean, it's just the better budget we have, the better we're gonna make the story
Yeah.
and like and the product for sure. I mean, we've always known that. We see things, then there are just some errors that can't be fixed. Or there are just some things we didn't have time for or didn't have like the money for. And like we know if we had it, or had this, had that, it would be better, it would be stronger.
I like what you
So
said about when things were stressful when they didn't need to be. Because sometimes when I get on set, we'll say set, like obviously I'm not, producing like big like movies or whatever, but like set as in I'm there with the talent. Maybe I have someone else helping me, and we're getting stuff done. We have a shot list, whatever. And I'm always like, I always feel like I have to rush it. I don't know. It's like this weird thing where like I worry about what I have to get done, but then like it shows up in the footage because you can see like how maybe this shot wasn't too thoughtfully placed or the scenery within the shot like something could have been moved, a light
mm,
could have been moved, the subject could have been maybe this way a little more. So it definitely shows up in the footage, I would say, but I definitely resonate with like I've been trying to be better at taking my time on set with stuff like but sometimes you can't obviously so like
yeah,
for this
setup is key.
yeah
And
for
if you have
this
time to play it back, play it back. And if you like what you see, then you can move on. And if
I
not,
think
then there's no harm in doing another take.
that's my biggest thing, yeah, because we're going up to Bear Mountain this month to do like this car like sequence, this driving sequence, and it's going to be a tight schedule because we have to get the sunrise like the whole way through to noon, but the sun's only rising for so long, so we got to
Yeah.
get the shots. We got to get like because the whole vision for it is cars driving by like the cliffside with the sunrise gleaming in. It's like you got one shot, We're gonna do like roller shots, we're gonna do drone shots, but in
Yeah. You
in
probably got to get there pretty early, huh? Because
yeah, we
like
gotta head
the
up.
clocks go back.
Yeah, well, yeah. So we have to leave at like 5, get there by 6:30, and then sunrise is at like 7:15 ish. So it's not too bad of a schedule. It's just like in terms of like just getting the what I want it to look like in one go. But I know it's gonna be definitely hard because I want to get like a drone shot over the bridge with the car going through it, It's just a lot of
Yeah.
like ideas going through your head, and then when you get there, it's
Hmm.
like, all right, what can I do right now, like logistically, like okay, I can't like all these shots in my head. It's like it'll never be exactly how you want it to be, like exactly. You know what I mean? Like you have obviously like visions in your head, but the shot will never like completely match what you're thinking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
A
so
little
it's
color
like
correction.
yeah, well,
We could do a little
could
VFX to add some sunbeams, you know?
yeah VFX sunlight with all the shadow. Imagine that. It'd be an
Yeah.
expensive thing to do with getting all the
Well,
sun in it.
if you know a guy, they can get it done.
I guess so. I guess you're definitely not wrong. So yeah, that's what I've been trying to work on. It's just like taking my time, understanding that the shot is the shot that I can get right now. Like I'm not stop thinking about the
Hmm.
next shot. Worry about this one. Do this one right.
Yeah. You definitely
So
have to live in the present when you're filming.
yes, yeah, because then like
And
because we're
let
gonna
let
be
let other people tell you that you're behind time. Like
yeah
me. I'll tell you speed it up if it's
yeah. I'm
taking
like
too long.
no, I want to get this shot. But yeah, because the thing is, like we're only going up there one day. Like we're not gonna go there again. So we got to get it done. You know, because it's an
Yeah.
older car too. Like 50-mile trip is pretty hefty for it's a 1971 car. So
What kind of car?
it's a Pantera. I don't know if you know are familiar with it. It's a discontinued brand,
Oh
obviously, but
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's an orange one, and we want to get it with the fall foliage and stuff. It's like gonna be like
That'd be
awesome because
sick.
yeah, when you go early, there's not many people on those roads, and they're very windy roads. And like that's where I want to do. I don't want to do it on Long Island roads. They're just straight with traffic. Like, I want to get like the car going through things, and like there's also shots where it's like a hairpin, so it's like the road goes like this. So like
Mhm.
the camera could be whipping through the trees while the car is like going through them. So it's like all these different shots you can do. So I'm excited.
Nice. Yeah, that's sick. I hope that goes well.
Thank you. Where do you see KT Pictures going in the next 5 years? What are your
Uh,
plans?
well, hopefully it's the only thing I'm doing
Yeah.
by then. But we've got, I mean, every year we do something big, and then it makes us think like next year is going to be the year. Like, oh, this stuff's going to like take off, and then it doesn't happen. Mostly because we've got too far ahead of ourselves. But I mean, having our own feature film and having Caleb's film coming out soon as well. Like, easily two of the biggest projects that we've ever done, and can only go up from there. Truly, we keep adding, keep doing what we're doing. I think both are in line to have some really good success, and as far as indie films go. Um, so all I can say is I hope they do good, and I hope they really get the ball rolling for us, and just bring us to our next our next big project, whether that's our own IP or somebody else's. Always just looking forward to what's next,
Hmm.
and just kind of taking it like one step at a time.
So that's what keeps you going, sort of like the prospect of like the next project being bigger, the next project being greater, all those different things.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean we meet new people, like new filmmakers, um, like all the time, and I think we've gotten to a place, and it's very internal right now because these two big projects, they're not out yet. But I think we've gotten to a place where we feel good in our ability to produce projects in general, and just like with people or for people, um, to the point where I think we've been referred to, or at least we've been kept in mind for other people who have projects on the rise, and we want to keep that ball going. We want to get to a point where we can tell someone comes to us and we have to turn them down because we have so many other projects going on.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, but that would be a 5-year goal, I'd say, to
Gotcha.
be confidently at that point where like we have a lot going on for us.
Hey, I mean, it all starts with the next step for the next, I guess, like in the staircase of where you want to go. It's all about those individual steps, like leading this project, next project. It's all these different parts that are moving. So cool, cool.
Yeah.
I think I definitely I've learned a lot just about production, like as a whole, and how it works today. So yeah, I just wanted to leave off with where we can find you on social media and your production company. If you want to just say.
Yeah. Um, yeah, you can check out our website, ktpictures.com. We're on YouTube, KT Pictures. We recently changed that name, so I feel like it might be hard to find. I think KT Pictures 95 is like our username. Um, Instagram, it's K Twins Production or no, K Twins Pictures. Um, and I'm on Instagram if you feel like following me. I don't have that much interesting on there, but I'm BRouse95. It's
You got
probably
some
just me
interesting videos
sharing.
you post. You got some cool stuff you post.
Well, yeah, I do it for my own entertainment.
Yeah, spice it up.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Another example of no rules, just
there you
having
go.
fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like my 5-hour Florida project.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Brian, I appreciate you taking the time today. I think this has been a very insightful discussion, and like I said, 2 years in the making since we last convened at the internship. But yeah, I think it's only up from here with KT Pictures, and I've honestly been inspired from like the different things you have planned, and already like the insights that you provided on, projects like Play It by Ear. So like awesome stuff. I've definitely taken away a lot, and I hope the audience could have taken away a lot of things too.
Well, I hope so.
So
I hope I can help somebody out.
you definitely helped me out. So cool. Well, guys, this has been real. If you guys stayed this long, thank you. And I appreciate you guys watching the series, and stay tuned for the next one.
Yeah, thanks so
So,
much, Tony.
thank you. I always have trouble ending this. I'm like, where do I end it on? You know what I mean? I'm just like,
Yeah.
I usually just like casually just be like, I usually say like, I don't know how to end this, and then it just ends.
You
So,
fade music in at the end till it
yeah,
takes over your audio, and then
I'll
you're
fade
done.
in your Mr. Rager track over
Yeah, there we go.
it just fades out.